Hello, everyone, and welcome. This is Jeneth Blackard. I'm the founder of the Real Raw You Synergy podcast, and today we're talking with Misa Hopkins, and it's an honor and a joy to have found her. She has a profound healing journey that we're going to talk about, and we're going to talk about her breakthrough healing system, which is very unique and dynamic, and I think you're going to really enjoy this conversation. Misa, welcome to the call.
I am so glad to be here with you, Jeneth. What a delight.
I wanted to start, share a little bit about how you got on this journey to healing your body from when you got sick, and if you'll just, kind of let our listeners in on the whole background.
Yeah, you bet. It really started with my mother, bless her heart. She was in the hospital, and I hadn't talked to my mother in about 2 years. I was in some really deep emotional healing. I'd coming out and through depression. And I realized every time I went home, I was getting triggered. I'm sure a lot of us can relate to that, just that constant triggering. So I wrote a very loving letter to my family and said, I love you. I have to work on some things. I'm not going to be around for a while. And they were very, very respectful. So my mom's in the hospital. And my brother calls me with some trepidation and he says, sis, the doctors don't think she's going to live through the week. Would you be willing to come home? And of course I was willing to go home. And I'd done enough inner work. I knew that I was going to hold space for her transition. This wasn't about healing any of my stuff now. I was clear.
Right.
And so I got to the hospital and it seems the story was circulating that, in a sense, the prodigal daughter was coming home, So the doctors gave her an extra dose of morphine, and we barely had any time to connect or to talk before she was going under. But my mother had the grace and the presence to apologize and to ask forgiveness. And so we had a beautiful, beautiful conversation. And then, boom, she was in. And I did, Jeneth, I've been doing this since I was a little kid. I would sing my brothers and sisters to sleep. I would pick up a baby that was crying and I'd start humming. I didn't know what. I was just humming whatever came to me. And that's what I did for my mom. And this beautiful Native American sound came out like a song. And my mother was part Native, had never explored that part of her bloodline. And within seconds, really, after the song, for the first time, I was seeing inside her body. And I could see what the doctors could not see. They thought she must have some kind of infection, but they didn't know where. They had her on a penicillin drip. And I could see her bronchial tubes inflamed. And I asked her spirit what she needed. And the next thing I know, I saw her just fill up with this gorgeous green light. And it was done. My sister, the other woman in the family, walked in the room. We held hands together in the dark, in the silence. And about an hour later, somewhere around there, my whole family descended. And it's a big family, 6 kids and sister-in-laws and grandkids and my father, and we're rowdy. We're a bit obnoxious, and that's what we were doing. And my mother was sitting up in bed, cheeks full of color, alive. Her eyes were bright, and asking the doctor when she could go home because she felt great. And they did release her and send her home. And she got to be with us for another 3 months. So she is the one who helped me see there was a whole new reality, a whole new experience of healing that I didn't even know existed.
Right. And do you think that this was an entity that came in you, that is you? Do you have other information to what actually that native energy is?
Yeah, I think the song came through in a native way because of her blood, and her writings, her poetry showed a connection to a native heritage she had never explored. And I think that's why the song came through in a native way. Since then, I've sung hundreds of medicine songs for people, and they will be Celtic, they will be Middle Eastern, it's just all forms of sounds that come through depending upon the individual. But the gift has been with me since I was a little girl. I just hear. In fact, I sang for a man years ago. I was doing some sounds for him, for his consciousness. And when I finished, he looked at me and he said, "How did you know?" And I said, "Know what?" And he said, that song had been sung to him by a spiritual teacher many years ago in India. Mm-hmm. And he was shocked that I could hear the same song. And I said, "Well, honey, it's just in your field. It's who you are."
Right. So can you do this both with physical ailments as well as emotional things? Mm-hmm. Okay.
Cool. Yeah, it has been an interesting journey. What I've discovered is that if I open to the sounds that sometimes I hear them, sometimes I feel them. It's like a feeling that wants to be sounded and make that sound. Then my inner eye opens up and I can see. So sometimes, and also my inner ear opens up at a level. Sometimes I will hear something that, say, a doctor hasn't been able to get to. They can't quite diagnose it, and I'll hear something like, "Check for." Tell your doctor to check for this. So it's cool.
It sounds like the good doctor, the autism he has, it's like he kind of runs through all his like medical history, and then he'll like see or notice or hear something that nobody else could hear. He just has this unique awareness.
Yeah, and it's so awesome because when it opens in that way, clearly whoever's getting the information is ready for it.
Right.
And it allows us to get to a whole nother depth of support that we didn't have before.
Wow. So I've been playing with this idea of, so many of the people who come to me to work on either their business growth or just their personal development, they have this, they're just kind of like claim themselves as the outcast, right? They're like a creative weirdo outcast. Mm-hmm. And because they are that, they often do a lot of isolation. Mm-hmm. And I've been really becoming curious about what it takes to change this in people, because I know that I've got parts of it. And can we do like a group clearing and healing to introduce your work and maybe focus on a topic like that? And if not, I totally get it.
Oh, I love that. I love that concept. And it's absolutely the inner weirdo, the wild woman, the crazy man, that absolutely.
We're kind of honored to be it. And then at the same time, we hate rejection, and then we run and we hide when we get rejected and we feel hurt. And, it's sort of a weird dynamic I've found. And it's not just, a few outcasts. I mean, there's like, but it's like there's so many of them that we all are one.
It's really true. And I find the same thing, Jeneth, with my clients. Often they feel very alone. There's no one else I can talk to about this. And we go to our family, and our families are, what
they're
the
all
heck?
alone too. I mean, it's so like everybody's alone, yet they're not, right?
And yet we're not. And I love that you're going there with your clients. I remember early on with my family, and I had just been with a man who was a fire walking instructor. So I'd been fire walking, and I just thought this stuff was way out there, the sound healing stuff. Yeah. And we were at Thanksgiving together, big meal. And my brother said, we know when the kids do something weird, that they really belong to you. They came into the wrong family. And I thought, oh my gosh, I don't want my nieces and nephews feeling bad about thinking something weird or doing something weird. And this whole new energy opened up in me. And they know me as Terry.
Mm.
So I said, well, that's right. I said, I'm Weird Aunt Terry.
Yeah.
That's who I am. Anything weird, I can handle it.
Yeah.
And everybody laughed and the tension broke. And that was the message I wanted my nieces and nephews to have. You have a weird experience. You've seen a spirit. You're
Right.
getting premonitions. That's just fine. You come talk to me.
Yeah.
and after that, it was fine.
Mm-hmm.
I think that claiming it was really significant for me.
Yeah, yeah. And I feel in some ways I've acknowledged and claimed it about myself. And then yet there are these paradigms where I will do things and try to just be me and be the outcast. And then I'll get rejected for that. And then I will go into this, oh. and I'm like, you know what? I'm done with that construct. And I've been exploring this for a little while now in myself. And then lately I've been like, okay, how can I transition my clients faster and more dynamically than ever before? And one of my favorite things is sound healing, whether, it's music or a frequency or voice. I mean, I've spoken with so many sound healers, and it's always been the thing that shifts, whether it's light language and weird gobbledygook.
Mm-hmm.
It seems to shift faster than, what used to be. I always would go to the question and get really curious about it, and that works.
Mm-hmm.
But I find that sound healing is starting to work even more dynamic for me. So,
well, one of the things I discovered as I worked with sound was that sound has a way of getting to consciousness prior to when we formed thoughts into words, right? So if it's something that our soul experienced before we embodied, if it's an experience that we've had in the womb, or we're transforming experiences from our childhood before we had language to describe things, that sound gets to that. And we don't have to have any formalized words like in English or French or German. We are simply present to an energetic awareness.
right.
And that's powerful because through sound, we can connect with emotions, maybe that weren't expressed or wanted to be understood. And that can happen through sound so beautifully, so easily.
Yeah.
So it's powerful. And it takes us right to the beginning of creation, right?
Oh my gosh, right? Well, and it's the frequency, right? So, I think that sometimes you got to get in there in a different way and grab things and pull them out. I've kind of gotten to the place that I'll be so vulnerable that, things will just get stolen from me, really quickly, because I'm like, yep, I'm willing to give it up. Let's do it.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And sound gets to that just exquisitely and changes our experiences.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'd love to talk a little bit more about some of the healing experiences that you had, but I want to give, the audience a little sample of this, because I like to find like the diamonds in the rough, and I really feel that you're one of them.
Thank you. Well, it's been polishing for a lot of years,
Right.
diamonds. And So one of the things about sound, and that includes thought, that my masters taught me, my teachers, is that it comes from the purity of our silence. So the deeper we are able to be in the silence, the more profound the sound, the more profound the shifts in consciousness. So some years ago, and this was also because of my healing, I needed to stop sounding for a while. I needed to stop making sounds. I was really called deep, deep, deep into the silence and the presence of the silence. And there's a meditation that allows us to get into that silence which is so beautiful. And also, I want to share this because something you talked about, that when we're feeling like we're a weird person, there's an emotional charge to that, right? And there's a fear that I won't be accepted, that I won't be loved as I am. And this is all about going right into that place and accept
A
it.
little scary, I'm like, all right, what's going to happen here?
Well, I can tell you that a dear friend of mine did just this that I'm going to share, and we'll see if it calls for a little sound at the end. But just this, and ended 15 years of chronic genetic depression.
Wow!
By doing this every day for about 20 minutes.
Wow!
And I can tell you that I have had lifelong issues that I had been working on progressively over time. Took that concern or that issue, that fear, into this place and held for 30 days. At the end of 30 days, I called my dear friend, same woman, by the way, who had ended chronic genetic depression. We talked 3 years later. She hadn't had a single bout of depression. So I called her. I was so excited. And I said, Ariane, it's gone. I know it's gone. It's done.
Yeah.
And she said, that's fabulous. She said, what issue is resolved? And I got really quiet and I said, I don't remember.
Yeah. Well, that's how it works, isn't it? Yeah. Yeah. I think when my depression went away, it was like a year or two later. And I was like, wow, I haven't even had one day where, there'd be sluggish days or frustrated days, but that depression, nope, it's gone. And, when I realized that, and I had that always, it just seemed like that was just me. Yeah, but I didn't become aware of it until like a year or so later. I was like, wow. And my husband was like, yeah, you're right.
It's pretty awesome, isn't it?
Yeah. I do this program. It's called Be Magic, and it's really it started with white noise space, which was one of the first thing that got me out. Was it was like just not necessarily white noise, but it was subliminals and triliminals, which is just like noise to kind of shift your brain so that it's not hearing like all the other noise of the rest of the world. It's really about just being able to be you without all this other mind stuff going on. It's just one thought. And it sounds like this is very similar, so I'm excited.
Well, shall we go in?
Let you do your thing.
Let's go in. All right. I invite you to get comfortable.
Okay.
And breathe into the space that you are. You can notice the space between your breaths or your thoughts. That space, still and silent, quiet, soothing. For many, this space is dark like the night sky. Allow yourself to remember any moment when you have felt love. Loving someone, being loved by. It could be a pet, a person, one moment of any kind. And notice how the space and the love are one. and allow it to anchor deep inside your second chakra. Deep inside the energetic space of womb that lives inside you. Both men and women have this space. And it connects you to the primordial womb of all life. It holds all life in its suchness as it is. All potential. Allow your imagination, your consciousness to bring you whatever you need to feel safe. Here you are loved absolutely as you are. There is nothing you can do to push away this love. Nothing you can do to earn it. It simply exists. And you are loved because you exist. All accepting, expecting nothing, no thing at all. In this love, allow yourself to go deeper into love than you have ever been before. Direct your mind to take you in. To love that transcends time or space. A love that holds you as you are. With a focus on that love, allow yourself to remember a moment when you felt different or weird. A moment when you didn't feel accepted as you are. To allow this love to wrap itself around that feeling of rejection and that fear. Recognize how the fear has come from experiences of the past. And the unknown future. Allow the fear to exist. Allow it to be present. Wrapping love around it. Through it and in it. as it is able to receive. Notice how the edges of the feeling soften. And the feelings are accepted with love. Notice how the fear softens when it is accepted in love. And its profound desire to protect you. Like a gentle mist, this love seeps in with deep understanding into the feelings and the fear. Softening and releasing, unwinding. Beyond time and space. Into the heart of divine love. And as it softens, your essence, your beauty, your light emerge. Sweet, bold, aware. The song that you are, the love that you are, the limitless capacity to love it all. There's that light and love and awareness awaken inside you. Stir to remember who you are. And I am emerges from the depths of your being. But I am might be a word, a sound, a feeling, a knowingness, a symbol, a gesture, a movement. It might make no sense to your logical mind, but your beingness knows it. This I am of this moment, beautiful expression of your divinity. Connected to the beautiful divinity of all. In a timeless dance of love and experience, contractions and expansions of birth and awakening. Allow yourself to see, sense, know, hear, feel this I am becoming a part of your life. See the actions you might take, the thoughts you could have, the relationships. See yourself bringing this I am into your life as a human being, connecting with those around you, from the people to the trees, to the flowers, to the food you eat, connecting. This great journey, this great flow of creation. And feel that peace in your heart and the expression of your beautiful potential realized. With that awareness and that I am, we're going to take 3 breaths and blow ourselves back into the consciousness of your body so that you can bring it into your life and your daily activities. Big inhale. Exhale through your mouth. Good. Feel the air around you. Notice its temperature, texture, scents, and sounds. Next breath coming further in. Big inhale. Exhale through your mouth. Feel where you are sitting as physical reality. Feel yourself against and near something else. Last breath coming all the way back into your body. Big inhale. Exhale through your mouth. Blowing yourself back into the awareness of your body. This next step is very important. Make sure you can feel your body. So stretch, rub your hands, rub your legs, whatever you need to do. Make sure you can feel your body. And when you can feel it, then very gently open your eyes.
It's so interesting how I'm so anxious, or always in a little bit of a way. We'll do this and I'll be like, okay, I'm here. Wow. I don't even realize that I am that, in my yoga teacher used to call that fritti. The little vigilant system that's just always, quietly sneaking in when we take out these breaths. And that was wild. One time I felt like I was spinning a little bit, in these little circles. It's like, and then at one point I got a little anxious or resistant. It was like, I'm defending.
Yeah.
I think, when you invited us to go to a place where we've been rejected, there's this part of me that's like, screw them. They don't know who I really am.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yep, that's right.
That's right. Gosh. And I almost don't really, once I truly acknowledge that I am and that greatness bursting up, it does kind of get me back to interesting choice that they made instead of making myself wrong.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I really wish I would love to walk in this world and only stand in the I am,
Mm-hmm.
right? And I know that people don't always get that. I think on this series they do, that I've had these glimpses of that one thought, that one me, that one I am.
Mm-hmm.
And, and I'd love to simply create my life, my business, my world, my reality in that presence, in this presence, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes, and I think one of the things that I learned, and this was one of the gifts from my mother
Mm-hmm.
on her deathbed, is that when we go to the resistance rather than back away from it.
Mm-hmm.
You see, that was my mother asking for forgiveness. She went right to that moment of resistance.
Yeah.
And in that
It was right.
moment, pardon?
It was kind of like, I'm right, you're wrong, right? Is
And
that,
it dissolved.
yeah,
The moment she asked for forgiveness, it dissolved. There was no right or wrong anymore. There was simply experience.
right.
And from that experience, in the softening, in the opening, I was able to access my gift, and she was able to receive from her daughter.
Mm-hmm.
It's the resistance itself where the medicine, in the way I learned with my native elders, that's where the medicine lives.
Right.
And we spend so much of our lives doing this, right? Defending and protecting, but
It's
not where the
exact
opening is.
opposite of
It
that.
is the opposite, right?
We feel in control, I think. That is our control freakishness. We feel like we're protecting ourselves in some way by trying to fight for the rightness of just the energy, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And we hunger. We hunger for that acknowledgement.
Right. Man, I'd
That's
really like to give that one up.
yeah. Yeah.
Like in every way, in every paradigm that shows up, I'd really like to give that one up.
Yeah. Yeah. And it does. That's one of the
Yeah,
reasons.
that's one of these, that's how this practice works. You give it up eventually.
That's right. That's right. You can stay in that love. And when I'm working long term with people, we're deepening and deepening and deepening into that love. There's no limit.
Right.
Right.
Well, let's talk a little bit about your healing breakthrough system. And I know that you've got a special offer for them. And I'd love for you to talk about it.
Sure, sure. And this practice, by the way, that we just did is part of the system. It's in the system. The breakthrough healing system came because I found out that I had MS, and I refused to live with the thoughts of, oh my gosh, I could be in a wheelchair, I could not be moving. I just not going there. It's not happening. Yeah. So it was exactly what we just did. These beautiful moments of being present to what was, to the resistance that was in me, and allowing the sounds to emerge, the spiritual gift to emerge and work for me. And as I was in these meditations, Jeneth, at one point, one of my guides very graciously said to me, Misa, write this down. Write down what you are doing as you're doing it, because once you heal, you won't remember the steps you took, which was absolutely right. So, and it was good. I'm a former educator, so that was the perfect thing for me to do. So as I was in this process of deep, deep healing, I would write every day about not what I personally was discovering, but like a teacher, what steps were making a difference. And I codified that into 7 major steps that I took that allowed me to find the depth of self-love that was absolutely necessary to transform through my fears and through the pain of my childhood, which was where the MS was rooted metaphysically, until I could bring it into full healing. So it became my book, The Root of All Healing, 7 Steps to Healing Anything. And that then became a video program that I created called the Breakthrough Healing System. And that's what we do, Jeneth. We walk through the same steps that I've used, that I've had clients use to deal with chronic illnesses, autoimmune diseases, all kinds of, quote, uncurable, right, illnesses to actually get results.
Would you say that people don't really understand what healing is, like, or even self-love, right? Like, do you think that people don't really get what self-love really is?
That's a great question, Jeneth. I think we limit it. I think we
put it in a box.
It's like, as long as I'm loving over here, that's good. That should be enough. God, divine, creation, universe, however we're thinking of it, ought to be responding. That's enough love. And what I find working with my clients is that the request that's coming from inside of us is to love what we think is unlovable.
Like
the places,
little evil inside.
Exactly. The places where we judge ourselves. How come I'm not further along in my life? How come I haven't done this yet? How come I
making ourselves wrong in every turn?
Exactly.
Why do I keep eating too many carbs?
Right. That is exactly it. Why haven't I attracted my partner yet? Whatever it is, I've judged it. And in doing so, I've judged myself. And so there isn't enough self-love yet. And the steps are designed to help you, wherever you are in the journey, keep going deeper and deeper in.
Right.
Until there is enough self-love for what you thought you could never love.
Right. So tell us about the MS journey. Did you, clearly went in and looked at it and saw it. And can you share a little bit more about some of these steps and getting closer to this? Because now you've just opened my mind in a different way. Because I'm like, well, yeah, because I think everyone, whether it's like a twisted ankle or, we've had some really great conversations where people have walked in energetically into their body and just, lit up that area with lights and other things like that. So I'd like, can you just tell us a little more about like really, because, I can see you really wanting to fight your body if your body was breaking down in that way with that resistance that we were talking about earlier.
Well, it's the common myth in healing. I have to get rid of this.
Yeah. I have to change it. I have to. Right. I will.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So in effect, what you're doing is you're trying to pull something out of your consciousness in that way is it's another violent act.
Right.
We don't realize we're being self-violent, asking for our bodies to heal. And for me, I was right up against my ego. Now, a little context helps. I had already studied with medicine women. I'd studied with a sound master in Japan. I was not new to spiritual growth. This wasn't new territory for me.
Right.
And I kept bumping into this belief in my meditations that made me really uncomfortable. And beliefs are key, the beliefs and the emotions, and the way they're wound up together. And they were. So the resistance, the emotion was, that can't be true. My mind kept saying the belief that was that I felt I needed to be special, so special, more special than anyone else. It was you might call it a martyr syndrome, a willingness to self-sacrifice in order to be as special as I could be. And it bothered me because spiritually, I know we're all equal, we're all one. I'd had enough experiences. My gosh, I already knew that. It was anchored into my being. So where was this belief coming from, and this need, this yearning need, emotional need to feel special? And finally, I stopped arguing with it. And I said, I don't know where you come from, but okay, you're special. You're the most special person I know.
Right?
And I started to connect to feeling special. Well, as I did that, what I discovered was that it wasn't me as an adult who needed to feel that. It was a 5-year-old girl who got disconnected. And when you're 5, it's all about me.
Right.
You're the only one, right? So here's this little one inside me, that inner child that had not gotten to feel as special as she needed to feel.
Yeah.
In her singularity. And so as I meditated and let her feel that, then the beautiful thing that happened naturally, and this won't surprise any of your viewers and listeners, is that I started to see what made everyone powerful and unique and special, right? And in fact,
which is your weirdness. And
which is our weirdness. Yes.
Right?
And one of my spiritual gifts opened up, which is the ability to see other people's spiritual gifts. And so it was all blocked up in that woundedness, that little girl that was trying to defend and protect her right to be special. And so it was through that process of breaking down my resistance to the resistance. Does that make sense? My resistance to the belief, my resistance to the feelings I was having, that allowed the healing to finally occur. When it did, it moved fast. Most of the MS was done within 3 months, and the remaining parts of it completed within a year.
Wow.
So it moved for MS, that's very, very fast. Some healings happen instantly, some take our time, but in this case, it took the time that it needed for the awarenesses that I needed to have, and that was its gift. So the steps are based on that experience of lots of different ways that we get to go in and become present to that resistance in a way that it finally shows us what it really is about.
Yeah.
And now we're really free from it.
Wow. I used to, at the beginning of my healing journey, say I'm the most resistant person in the world. You know, I mean, I was like literally, there's a reason that I went down this path. And now I would never say, I don't actually feel like that about myself, right? I know I still have a lot of resistance and a lot of fight, but not like that. That's a crazy one, that resistance. You know, and you just, and sometimes doing this work, you really want to go, I get that I'm resistant and I don't know how to change it, you know, though we like to, gosh, that's just.
It's the tricky one, and it's the weirdness, right? As long as we're resisting that someone might accept us, we have a fear of it. It's harder for them to accept us.
Right.
So we generate it. We don't mean to, but we do. In the same way my family was deciding I was weird. Well, once I embraced it, they might have that thought now and then. I might have that thought now and then.
But it's not a wrongness.
It's not a wrongness. It's just she's weird, Aunt Terry. We love her.
Yeah. You know, it's one time I had just a profound session with a client, and we broke through a bunch of things, and she had been trying to get pregnant for a few years. And after that single session, and she wrote it up in a testimonial and everything, she basically, gave me credit for helping her get pregnant.
Aww.
So I was joking for a little while and being like, And I've done it twice, helped women get pregnant through, facilitation, clearing out where they're not nurturing themselves and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
And I told somebody who couldn't receive it, and I literally shut down. And I feel like at that time, I even shut down that capacity because I was just, I banished, it was like banished. I would have been hung if I was a witch kind of thing.
Oh,
And
yeah.
judged to the nth. And this was a person that, I couldn't just get rid of out of my life. They were, part of my family some way. And I tell you, that it's so funny. You'll get one little thing, somebody else will say, like, don't talk about this around blah, 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 because they will, the judgment.
Well, I think that part of knowing ourselves is also being able to measure,
Mm-hmm.
right? It's that sensing, like, that's going to be too much for this person.
Right.
Or,
yeah, I think that's
got to come in this way.
You do. You have the awareness to know what you can say, so it's like, why, in that time, my awareness was like, I was just too excited about it.
Oh, sure. And that's part of it, right? We're developing, yeah, exactly. I have a beautiful woman that does creative work in businesses. And she says, there's a period when we are creating anything new. She said that it needs to be incubated.
Uh-huh.
It needs to only really be shared with people who can hold it with you.
Or just with yourself.
Exactly.
That you,
yeah. As it expands, as you get stronger with it, you can share it with more people, and you're not affected. You know the depth and power of it, right?
Mm-hmm.
You carry it with you. But in the early stages, she said, it's so important.
Yeah, because if it gets shut down before you're solid and congruent with it, then you will hide it. You'll just run and hide and go away.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah, I've done that I don't know how many times. I almost feel like I should just start a journal on letting go and then rip it out and burn it or something.
Yep. I've done it too. And
just talking about it, they're just all coming back up. I'm like, geez, like, when is it time to let this stuff go? And for me, now is the time. So, well, I will give a link to the Breakthrough Healing System. And what I know about it is it starts with some free viewing, right?
Yeah, it does. It's something that my husband and I have completely enjoyed. The videos themselves are free. You can watch the entire thing. You'll get a new one every day for you to observe, watch as you wish. And then at the end of that time, if you're saying, oh, I like those exercises, I want to go deeper into them, I want the extra support materials, then you have an opportunity to purchase. So it's a gift and a program all in one.
Right. And you also have single sessions, and I know people can get in touch with you that way. And is there anything else you want to add to this conversation?
No, I just hope people take advantage of the videos, really. They were a joy to be able to create, and we've seen such beautiful results. And in fact, they'll hear inside the program, there's a story of a doctor who took my course, and very quickly putting together a couple of the exercises that I suggested, figured out the source of her migraine headaches that she'd had for years and years and years. And I talked with her a month or two later to see if her insight was holding, and it was. And so you'll hear several stories as we're going through, and hopefully their inspiration will also inspire.
Yeah, I think we like to deny the gift of this simple energy work. We like to think that, nope, it's not, I have to have it cut out or, by a surgeon or something, right?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. And in fact, Jeneth, one of the stories that I share inside the system that people can listen to and watch is about a woman named Amelia, 70 years old. that I did some work with, and within a week, she had grown a new valve to her heart.
Wow.
She was one of my earliest clients, and she set the standard for what was possible. So, and I'll go into detail about what it was she did and how she did it and what was occurring in that process that allowed her to get such a amazing result. She has inspired me for my whole life. So, there's some great stories there. And I do hope that in listening, that we can let go of our doubts, right? As we realize what others have done, we can let go of our own doubts.
Yeah, one of the marketing programs that I took was, it sounds weird that I'm bringing up marketing, but they did a whole week prior to the to-do stuff on getting your belief system to believe that this will work for you. And it was incredible. I was like, if I ever do another actual program where there's to-do steps, other than, the energy and the sound, I mean, there's some to-do steps, but mostly it's, it just comes up as the energy comes up, and then it comes up to change it, right? And I like following the flow and the energy like that. But if I ever do that, I will start with, here's kind of ways to get into knowing that this works. And a lot of that is through other people's stories and testimonials, and, and being like, they're just like me, and having that relatable perspective.
Exactly. And letting go of those doubts. I mean, one of the materials in there is 10 beliefs that short circuit your healing. These are beliefs most people have at some point in their life.
I can't.
Exactly. And once you recognize what it is and why it doesn't work, why it doesn't hold up, you're free to let go of it.
Yeah.
And that opens up your spirit and your heart to receive your true potential, right? To actually access that. So I found the same thing. It's those weird resistances we've had, the beliefs we've been taught, the things we've come to believe as a result of our experiences, and letting go of all of it.
So much, and will always come back down to, I'm not potent enough, right? Like it's not even that I'm not good enough. I mean, there's a lot of people that have that, but mine is, I'm just not potent enough. It's not strong enough. I haven't used it enough. It's not as strong a capacity as it could be.
Right.
Yeah. It's weird. I'm like,
well, it's part of that dance, right? With consciousness and the human body and the human mind. And
I share it so, other people can, see it in them, and we change it together.
We do. Yep. We do. Thank goodness.
Well, this has been an amazing call. Thank you, Misa. And we will post the link below so that you can gain access to the free viewing. And if you decide to invest in the program, Misa's made a very special offer for you guys. So it's all for you.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you, Jeneth.
You're so welcome. Thank you.
I've loved being with you and feeling the people that are listening and watching. Just beautiful, gorgeous people. So what an honor.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.